Good evening, everyone. Anyone is welcome to record this meeting, provided they do not disturb the conduct of the meeting. More information is available in the agenda. I would like to remind everyone present that this meeting is being filmed and made available to view in live and archive form via the Council's website. If you're seated in the public gallery, it is possible that the cameras may capture your image. If you wish to avoid being filmed, it is recommended you make a member of staff aware and they will direct you where to sit. The Westgate Garden gates are locked after sunset, and members of the public should leave the Guildhall by the side exit behind the glass door. Should the fire alarm sound, please leave through the nearest safe exit. Please do not use the exit at the back to my right, as access is currently restricted by the works outside. The assembly point will be outside Tower House. Do we have any apologies, Andrea?
Yes, we do, Lord Mayor. We have apologies from Councillors Castle, Edwards, Hazelton, Dawkins, Charlotte Cornell, Dan Smith, Ricketts, Worley and Watkins.
Right. I'd like to invite Councillor Baldock, Sol, Carnac and Turnbull to each make a statement that any declarations of interest by members of their respective groups are declared again by any of those members present at this meeting.
Lord Mayor, on behalf of the Labour Group at Canterbury City Council, I declare that any declarations of interest made by members of the Labour Group are declared again by those members present at this meeting.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Same for the Lib Dem Group.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Same for the Conservative Group.
Thank you.
Thank you. Same for the Green Group. Sorry.
Would any other member like to make any other declaration at this point?
Thank you.
Yeah.
I make a declaration that I have an other significant interest in relation to agenda item 8B, as I'm a volunteer at Wildwood. I've taken advice from the monitoring officer and will not leave the room for this agenda item on the basis that the notice of motion is being referred to Cabinet to be considered and there will be no debate or vote on this matter this evening. I make the declaration for transparency but can remain in the room for the item as it does not create a conflict of interest. I also need to make a declaration in relation to item 12. I have a DPI in that I had a planning application relating to my home considered by a recent planning committee. I've taken advice from the monitoring officer, and whilst the subsequent planning committee would ratify the minutes and full council this evening merely receives the minutes of all relevant committees for the purpose of keeping councillors informed, I will leave the room for this item to avoid any allegations that I have a conflict of interest. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other declarations? Thank you. We have one petition from the public for this meeting and one question. We will take the petition first. So could I invite Kate Handley to present the petition? You have 3 minutes to cover your points.
This petition is to show the strength of feeling about two easily changed bits of the Lough plan for Solly's Orchard. Solly's is a very small park alongside the river in Canterbury, a much loved green space for the many city residents with no gardens of their own, and also visitors who walk through or sit down and picnic in front of one of the best views of the cathedral. Some of the Levelling Up Fund is going here to, and I quote, create a green arrival experience. The petition is due to two worries we've had about the draft plan. 22 metres of hard paving are planned over the most popular section of the currently grassy riverbank. That, together with the existing path moved closer to the river, means that over a third of it is lost to paving, and the remainder has only a narrow grass verge alongside it, so it's no longer practical for picnickers. We think 5 metres of paving at one end, 8 metres at the other, with the path remaining where it is, will give a balance for wheelchair users and the grass lovers. There are actually paths right along the river throughout most of Canterbury. Solly's is one of the only places where there is a grassy verge wide enough to picnic on. Now, trees. Solly's has an existing mix of mature and young hazelnuts, cherries, crab apples, quinces. They surround 2 open spaces where people currently play games and have gatherings. Our worry is the plan to plant 12 more apple trees in rows, like a modern commercial orchard. We are not against more trees, quite the opposite. The right type in the right place means that Solly's can look like an old orchard and still have open space, just as any park should, as well as keeping that cathedral view from the main path. It's also worth mentioning that 14 apple trees were planted in 2007 as part of an earlier initiative, much like this one. There are only 6 left alive as far as I can see, and they are definitely not thriving. We started the petition after asking people what was important to them, people that use the park. They were very positive about the proposed improvements to the paths, which are too narrow and sometimes flood, and also for more seating, but very concerned about the loss of the riverbank and the open areas. We wanted the petition to be from people who use the park, so there were signs to it in Solly's Orchard itself and later on Canterbury Facebook groups. It has over 1,500 signatures, most from the very visitors the Levelling Up Fund is hoping to attract. But council criteria means that only residents of Canterbury are counted, which we understand. Why didn't these people speak up more in the consultation, you might ask? Well, we found that local park users did look at the plans, but the paths and the trees look more or less the same. It was only when you actually measure it out, you realise that the proportions are going to be dramatically changed. So I hope the officers will consider these very minor changes to the plan that will also save money. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. As this petition has fewer than 1,000 valid signatures, it would not be debated by this council. However, I will invite the leader of the council to give an initial response.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. And thank you, Kate, for presenting your petition this evening, asking for an alternative vision of this wonderful open space to be considered, one I know very well. Can I also take this opportunity to publicly thank the volunteers who contribute so much time and effort to make Solly's Orchard so very special. I will also take this opportunity to clarify the position that Canterbury City Council are taking regarding the works planned under the Towers of England project. Canterbury City Council plans for Solly's Orchard, one that has been worked on with nearby residents for sure, the plan has always been to sensitively and thoughtfully take away some of the obstacles to people enjoying such a gorgeous space in the heart of the city, making changes that widen its reach even further, but our design aims to achieve this. I normally sing along to things like that, but I will spare you that and go back a sentence if that's okay, in a second or two. Okay. Okay, so I'll just read this paragraph again. Canterbury City Council's plans for Solly's Orchard, one that's been worked on for nearby residents, that's for sure, we all understand that, and Kate agrees that as well, has always been to sensitively and thoughtfully take away some of the obstacles to people enjoying such a glorious open space in the heart of the city, making the changes that widen its reach even further. Our design aims to achieve those things, namely more seating, better surfaces for parents with children and pushchairs and people with mobility issues and problems, better views of the cathedral, and more trees in an urban environment. With more trees, we are linking back into Solly's Orchard history as an orchard. The new trees will provide many benefits for visitors to Solly's Orchard. New shaded areas for people relaxing to picnic under, biodiversity gain in the centre of the city, and hopefully stunning natural displays during the spring of blossom and in the autumn too with their leaves. So thank you for your petition. That's my response.
Thank you. This petition will now be referred to the Head of Digital Data and Improvement for further attention. Thank you. Next, could I invite Richard Norman to present their question? You have 3 minutes to cover your points.
Thank you. My question's about local government reorganisation, and I'll read it. Canterbury City Council is one of a small minority of district councils in Kent which has gaps in local community representation and is not conducting a community governance review prior to unitarisation. What is the council doing to address this? Hugh McMahon, the Secretary of State, has said that local government reorganisation should facilitate better and sustained community engagement. He wants to see deepening localism and engagement across every community. And clearly that's going to be needed as unitaries make things more remote from people than the districts currently are. Now, it's a further question how that deepening should be achieved, but clearly town and parish councils have an important role. And that's a problem for us because, of course, we don't have town councils in Canterbury, Whitstable and Herne Bay. And so we're going to need a community governance review. There's been an understandable reluctance to rush into that because of the recent somewhat problematic history of CGRs in the district. But some of us are concerned now that there's a real risk of leaving it too late. And there are 2 reasons why we feel that, which I want to put to you now. The first is the danger of being left behind. Most other districts in Kent are conducting community governance reviews. Thaneties, Maidstone, Ashford, Tunbridge and Malling, Tunbridge Wells, Swale and Medway has committed to doing so. Here in East Kent, Dover is already fully parished, so is Folkestone and Hythe, and the Thanet Community Governance Review will probably end with the one remaining place there, Margate, getting a town council. So the consequence of that is that when unitaries are in place, community governance reviews will not be a priority because most other places will already be catered for. And so that's a serious concern that if we leave it to the new unitary, we may have to wait a very long time. The second reason for thinking about the urgency is the extreme volatility of the present political climate. We really have no idea who will form an administration in a new East Kent unitary. I don't need to spell this out, but we have no idea what a new administration's policies and priorities might be, and they may want to oppose everything that we want for our part of the new unitary. So there's a real risk, again, that if we leave it to the new unitary, we will have to wait a long time and may never get what we want. Now, in asking this question, we're not ourselves suggesting a particular timescale, but we would like to know how you see and would like to ask you to think about what that timescale should be in the light of the problem of being left behind and the problem of the unpredictability of the new unitary. If the leader of the council is willing to provide an initial response, we'd be greatly gratified if there could at least be an assurance that those concerns that we've expressed will be taken on board. We'd be very grateful for that and for all your attention to it. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Richard. I would like to invite the leader to give an initial response.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Thank you, Rick Norman, for bringing the question to Council this evening. The point you make is well made and is understood by this administration. It is recognised as a matter to be considered fully and will require an outcome encompassed within the wider local government reorganisation likely to be in place in 2028. It is, however, worth me setting out the Cabinet's position on this and the reasons behind that position. Firstly, we are not planning any community governance review in advance of the vesting day for the new unitary authority in 2028. We will, however, seek to grant the powers to the shadow executive of a new unitary authority to facilitate a community governance review within the first period of the new administration. So, in essence, any decision on when to proceed will be with them. they will have a strong signal from us, the outgoing administration, recognising the possibilities open from a community governance review of the unparished areas of this district. We are also open to early conversations with interested parties informally. Indeed, I've been pleased to receive an invite to attend many events already to discuss local government reorganisation locally, and this topic has been of interest for those too, or of interest for those. And I welcome other invites from many organisations that want to do that. We may also seek a more formal engagement at an appropriate time to help shape our submission to the structural changes order, which was set in place, that initial promise to a community governance review within the first period of the administration. Finally, it's important to consider the importance placed on community engagement with the new English Devolution and Community Empowerment Bill. And I'll raise your point that the hint is in the title of the bill. The bill title was changed at its formal readings, or for its formal reading. The government has no desire to abolish town and parish councils, far from it, but neither is it wedded to a belief that the only local government in a unitary authority is through a town or parish council. Other local governance arrangements, such as neighbourhood area committees, which can be significantly empowered by a unitary authority, should be considered rather than abolish new town or to establish new town and parish councils. Neighbourhood area committees would seek to address the justifiable concerns of a significant extra tax burden for residents created with the formation of new town and parish councils and the associated precepts necessary. Thank you. That's my answer.
Thank you. This question will now be referred to the Head of Corporate Governance for further attention. I have no announcement, but I would like to invite the Leader and Cabinet members to make any announcements they may have. Councillor Nolan.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Part of my portfolio is public safety, and people will know that there has been an increase in antisocial behaviour along the coast, in Herne Bay and in Whitstable, which we are taking very seriously. There had been a reduction in activity due to the police enforcing S34 dispersals, arrests and seizure of electric bikes with bail conditions. For example, they were only allowed out with a parent, and catapults have been seized. Unfortunately, on the 14th of July, it picked up again with the core group of those causing issues. We are looking at antisocial behaviour agreements along with using tenancy action to support behaviour change. Acorn began extra patrols this Monday, the 21st of July, and that will last for 6 weeks. And they are going to report things and collect evidence for us. We have a shared rota for KCC outreach, police, environmental crime, civil enforcement, and also the softer side of Sports Connect, so that Acorn and other officers can link up and support each other. It's also about a visible presence on the streets. There's been a number of issues in Whitstable, including antisocial behaviour and crime. There was a group of over 100 youths stealing alcohol and causing mayhem, kicking cars, loud music, and again catapults, throwing things at cars. The police is working in partnership with the Canterbury Alcohol Partnership, local traders, and also all staff in the harbour and other premises to share body camera footage and CCTV footage of incidents to ensure we can identify individuals. The people who were causing the issues recently at the harbour, we know travelled down from another part of Kent. And in fact, this whole issue was raised last Wednesday at the Kent and Medway Police and Crime Commission's panel. And Matthew Scott confirmed that it is a problem with youths travelling from elsewhere in Kent to the coastal towns. He has lent his personal support to our campaign to ban the sale of catapults. We have had 2,103 signatures to date to ban catapults, and today I was contacted by the Wildlife Crime Campaign Manager for Nature Watch Foundation, who are going to be launching a prominent nationwide campaign, and we at Canterbury City Council have been invited to join that launch. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Nolan. Joint Chief Executives, do you have any announcement?
None, thanks, Lord Mayor.
Before we move on from announcements, I would like to ask Councillor Jean Butcher and Di Baldock, the former Lord Mayor and Lady Mayoress, to approach the lectern to make a special announcement.
So I was going to invite you to, I was going to invite you as a FLM, former Lady Mayoress, to stand up with me. Secondly, we hope to do this presentation on the 15th of May at Mayor Making, but unfortunately, this gentleman was not well and spent a time in hospital. That is why we are doing the presentation tonight. So can I invite Graham Harrison to join us at the lectern? Yes. It's lovely. Right. So I want to offer our thanks to a member of the public who has been attending our council meetings for the last 40 years, Mr. Graham Harrison. He is an avid fan. Well, he is an avid fan of cricket and is also on friendly terms with all the bus drivers in Canterbury. He can regularly be seen monitoring their comings and goings across the city. He worked for the old Canterbury Borough pre-reorganisation, so witnessed the creation of the City Council as we know it today. Graham has been part of the fabric of our council meetings for as long as anyone can remember. He has kept us honest in making sure our public notices and agendas are available in all the right places and say all the right things. Agendas are meticulously read, and he is always kind enough to point out the occasional typo or inconsistency that others may have missed. We wouldn't have it any other way. His library of past papers must be legendary. If we ever lose one, we'll know where to turn. He must have witnessed many heated council debates over the years, and the history of this council chamber is all the richer for his presence. Graham, thank you for listening. You deserve a medal for putting up with us. I don't have a medal, but I'd like to present you with these tokens of our appreciation in recognition of your public service to the district of Canterbury. You can wear it for a bit. But personally, I just wanted to say thank you very, very much. We know you've been unwell, and it's always a pleasure. And unfortunately, we were going to do it, but Sod's Law went and became ill. But
I was actually in William Harvey Hospital.
So we found out. So Best Well plans were scuppered, but we've been able to do it today. So thank you very, very much. And long may you still be attending.
First mayor making was,
Come and have a...
my first mayor making was May 1965, and apart from during COVID, the present Lord Mayor is the first Lord Mayor who's been elected when I haven't been here. And I've been to the other committees.
I know.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. On next item, a recommendation from Cabinet on the 7th of July, minutes number 151, concerning the Beach Street Regeneration Report. I would like to invite the leader to propose the recommendations under item 5A in the agenda and the deputy leader to second them.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I hope everyone has read it. It's a very long piece there. I'm not going to read it out again if nobody is. We're all happy with that, in which case I am happy to propose this exciting development, which we're really, really pleased to get over the line. Fantastic. So thank you.
And seconded, Lord Mayor.
Thank you. Andrea, can we take a recorded vote? Or no? Are we debating? Oh, okay. Would you like to debate?
Close enough.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Lord Mayor. I'm very pleased to see that after almost 3 years, the £500,000 from the Brownfield Land Release Fund is about to be used. But I am concerned that this gives too much delegated authority to the head of property and regeneration without providing enough engagement with the residents of Herne Bay and particularly the residents of Heron Ward. I know that they would see any new planning coming forward, but given that so far the artist's impression that was in the papers is totally different to the one that was presented to the public in 2019 at a consultation in Beach Creative and that was widely shown throughout the town, I really feel that it should include something in there about ensuring that there is proper engagement with residents in Heron Ward before we spend many more hundreds of thousands of pounds on a project that is not what people expect or want. And so I would rather that we can look at something on that. We just don't want a Plaza 2. Thank you.
Councillor Mellis.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mayor, Lord Mayor. I would kind of echo, I suppose, in some ways, Rachel Carnack's concerns to make sure that local residents were consulted as part of the process. I've got just a couple of questions, really. I mean, this has been going on for decades now, not just since 2018 when the first proposals were put forward. I know COVID interrupted that kind of development, but are we confident that this actually can be, and it's not very clear in the paper, whether this work can be completed by March 26. It says whether if the land is sold or work is started, and I'm not sure if that's an either or again, it's unclear. If it is to be sort of work started by 26, that also includes planning permissions, consultations. That's a very short time frame. And I'm kind of concerned that you've got the confidence to do that. I'd also like to have it confirmed, I see it's in the paper, but that there is no consideration of actually selling the land for capital receipt. Because if that happens, it just means that the land will be built by developers and used as land bank. It will stay as it is for the next decade or more until they feel the price is right for their area. So I am glad that, that option 3 has been recommended. Again, though, in phase 2, there is still a problem about the, it talks about affordable housing, 100% affordable housing as well, which again, obviously we would welcome. But there's no time indicators. And is it linked again to this March 2026 deadline or not? Again, the paper is open on that. Obviously, we would want to see this going to develop through as quickly as possible, but with the best consultation as well. Thank you.
Councillor Thomas.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. As given the opportunity to speak on this, I have spent a lot of time in the last 10 years trying to get the council to actually chase up the regeneration of Herne Bay and for the residents and property owners, especially along the seafront, to actually spend the money in painting and decorating and actually sorting out their properties. I get into a situation now where actually we as a council do actually own the worst building on the seafront. So just the removal of that building would improve the overall appearance of the seafront. So that's just my opinion. Thank you, Chair.
Leader, would you like to respond, please?
Thank you. I'll start to respond. My colleague Michael might add something anyway. I think we may be reading too much into this. This project is, we've had to be thoughtful and adaptive to get an incredibly difficult project relaunched so that we can get some homes built, the seafront tidied up, all of the work that we all had a vision to want done. We've had to work mega hard to get that over the line. It's not, we'd all love to see all these things, but to get a viable development over the line, delivering homes and a decent frontage onto the Esplanade. We sought to put delegation in place because we want this to progress fast. We want it to be thoughtful, and we need to have the flexibility there to carry this through for maybe several more years to completion. So with that in mind, that's why we took option 3, because of its progressive nature, in other words, the front and then the back, so that we get a decent frontage onto the Esplanade quickly, hopefully within not too long at all, maybe a couple of years or something. And then after that, we build out the back in social housing, which would be absolutely amazing. So it was quite a tortured process to get to where we are. Tonight, we're asking your support of that. The Cabinet widely agreed that and debated it quite firmly as well and robustly, rightly so. So that's what I would say. I don't know whether you got anything to add to that, Mike. I'd appreciate it if you did.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. This is a difficult site. As has already been said, we've held on to this piece of land without moving it forward for quite a long time. And it's a financially difficult site as well. You know, it's not as if we can cut our losses and just sell it now. That would be the wrong thing to do. We want to be able to control as far as we can what goes there. and and bring forward some flats and some commercial space on the seafront as phase one. This seems to be the right thing to do. We can then move forward with phase two if we can get additional funding to put more homes in there from Homes England. So it's not an easy project. You know, if my hands are on the purse strings, I don't want us to lose money on this. We haven't got the money to lose on it. And as it's said in the report, you know, the first phase is, you know, could go one way or the other. We hope we'll at least break even on it. But we're doing this for Herne Bay and for the council. And then when we move into phase two, hopefully we can put some more housing on the site as well. We will, of course, you know, keep all councillors appraised of what's going on, and I'm very happy to share information on it as we move forward, should there be significant changes in design.
Do we have any more further comments? Yeah, we'll go to vote. Thank you.
So that vote is carried with 20 in favour, 2 against and 8 abstentions.
There are no recommendations from other committees and boards for this meeting. We now have 6 questions for the meeting. May I remind you, there is an overall limit of 30 minutes for all councillors' questions. Each questionnaire will have 1 minute to put their question, and 3 minutes is allowed for the response. Each questionnaire will also be allowed to ask 1 supplementary question, which the responder to the original question may answer. No other contribution is allowed. If we do not have time to cover all 6 questions, any questions that have not been put will be circulated by email along with a written response. Can I invite Councillor Ian Stockley to put the first question?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Can I please have an update on the number of full-time planning officers we currently have in post, and how many should we have in the planning department? Thank you.
Can I invite the leader to make a response?
Thank you, Councillor Stockley. The total number of planning officers is 14. That includes 10 planning development officers and 3 planning enforcement officers, and 1 manager overseeing both areas of the work. The total number of vacant posts within the planning development team stands at 3. There are 3 posts that are due to be filled imminently, with the recruitment of 2 knowledgeable and experienced contractors and a full-time member of staff to complement that to make the 3. 1 vacancy remains in the planning enforcement team, and recruitment is now underway. Further, we're discussing the recruitment of 2 graduate planning officers to support the development management team. Regarding the final point, I'm sure you welcome that this council continues to be committed to supporting graduate planning at the University of Kent. For over 6 years, that's been the case, from the inception of the course, following an approach from us to the then Professor of Architecture. We've been privileged to support 20 graduates through that period. We realise the issues with recruiting in this field, and rather than complain and expect a solution to appear, this administration will continue to do its best to create the change needed to recruit brilliant planners of the future. Thank you.
Councillor Stockley, do you have a supplementary question?
Thank you, Lord Mayor, and thank you, Leader. My supplementary question is, how much are we currently spending on consultants in the planning department? I accept that you probably haven't got that figure to hand, but if I could have it at some point. Thank you.
I don't know that answer, but I don't think it's confidential. It'll be circulated to you. It's not a problem.
Thank you. Can I invite Councillor Turnbull to put their question?
Sorry, Lord Mayor. In April 2025, the Council introduced its policy of charging double council tax for unoccupied and unfurnished properties or second homes. While it's popularly thought that this will have an impact on the proliferation of short-term holiday lets, such as we've experienced in Whitstable, looking through the exceptions, it's hard to see how. Homes are exempt when they are registered as holiday lets. These do not have to pay council tax at all and generally do not have to pay business rates as they are below that threshold. Another exemption is houses which are being actively marketed for sale or let. And anecdotally, I'm hearing that some homes are being put on the market with no intention to actually sell in order to qualify for this exemption. It doesn't say on the council website whether there is any time delimitation on this exemption, such as they have to be marketed for the whole year, 6 months, or maybe just a day. Please can you tell me how many second homeowners have been issued with demands for double council tax and how many have not claimed exemptions and are expected to pay double? Thank you.
Thank you. Can I invite Councillor Mike Saul to make a response?
Thank you, Councillor Turnbull. The answer to the question is that out of 1,683 second homes on the council tax register, 1,275 are being charged double council tax and 408 are claiming exemptions. That's the answer to the question, but I'll give you a bit more information as well. There would, in addition to this, be properties that are not subject to council tax as they are registered for business rates. Although we collect business rates, we do not decide which properties are chargeable to business rates or hold the records of those properties that have moved from council tax to business rates. We are requesting information from the Valuation Office Agency on the numbers of properties which have moved from the council tax list into the business rates list, and I'll be happy to share this information if and when we receive it. If a property moves from the council tax list, where Canterbury receive approximately 11% of the charge, to business rates, where Canterbury receives 40% of the charge, and if a business receives small business rates relief, this is currently subsidised by the government. However, business rates are then tariffed by the government, resulting in approximately a similar level of income to us. I would like to also provide you with some additional information in respect of council tax exemptions available. The council tax website states that no premium will be charged on properties providing the criteria for exemption is met for a maximum period of 12 months. And those criteria are the property being actively marketed for sale, the property being actively marketed for let, a property where probate has been granted within the last 12 months, and an unfurnished property in need of or undergoing structural alterations or major repair. In addition, in relation to a property being actively marketed for sale, the relevant legislation is the Council Tax Prescribed Classes of Dwellings and Consequential Amendments England Regulations 2024, and that states that when it is being marketed for sale, it must be at a price that is reasonable for the sale of the dwelling. Therefore, an exemption can last for up to 12 months from the point from which the property has first been marketed for sale. And that exception will end either when the 12-month period has ended, when the property has been sold, if the furniture is removed, if someone moves in as their sole or main residence, when the property is no longer actively marketed for sale. And the following conditions would apply to this exemption. The same owner may only make use of the exception for a particular property marketed for sale once. The exception may be used again for the same property if it has been sold or has a new owner. And if the property is marketed before 1st of April 2025 and there's been a gap in marketing, we'll take the latter date to calculate the exception period. Any unusual activity will be reviewed on a case-by-case basis.
Thank you. Councillor Turnbull, do you have any supplementary questions?
No, I don't. Thank you very much.
Can I invite Councillor Rachel Carnac to put their question?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Please, can you outline what actions have been taken to improve the performance of bin collections and litter cleansing since the meeting of scrutiny on June 4th? Thank you.
Can I invite the leader to make a response, please?
Thank you, Councillor Carnac. Unfortunately, you've got me tonight, but Cabinet and officers take the views of the Scrutiny Committee very seriously, and the constructive comments were very welcome. As agreed at the Scrutiny Committee, you refer to from the 4th of June, there will be a full update on progress in the September Scrutiny meeting. However, in answer to your question now, Caneco have been proactive in driving forward improvements to waste collection and street cleaning over many months, including the last month or two, working with street cleaning teams to make changes to working arrangements and the supervision. Being part of the improvement to the service is welcomed by those being involved in that, and our thanks to this administration go to them all, whatever role they play. Solving daily issues as they land and being buffeted by the real world, but still always striving to do the very best they can. Waste bin collections have become have had some difficulties of late. The last few weeks due to the hot weather, some significant breakdowns and an unusually high number of road closures. This inevitably impacted on the service. However, Caneco have an effective and flexible catch-up and manage proactively the bin rounds to avoid, where possible, delays. All very much part of business as usual to them in their flexible approach to working with us. Constant improvement is sought in Caneco operations as a business as usual expectation. The residents of Canterbury City Council are the end customer that Caneco, together with Canterbury City Council, will strive to offer good service to. We look forward to further updates in September.
Councillor Carnac, do you have any supplementary questions?
Yeah, thank you, Leader. I look forward to those updates, and also I ask that Cabinet at your meeting, when you have your Caneco report as well, that you will look seriously at some of the findings that came from scrutiny, particularly on uplifting resources for the contracts department. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. We've noted that, and we're looking at it in the budget reviews now. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I invite Councillor Andrew Harvey to put their question?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Will the leader of Canterbury City Council join me in condemning the appalling police treatment of Laura Merton, less than a mile from where we sit, who was threatened with arrest for peacefully protesting against the genocide in Gaza?
Thank you. Can I invite Councillor Connie Nolan, who's the Cabinet Member for Community Engagement, Safety and Enforcement, to respond?
Thank you, Councillor Harvey. I think we were all pretty much gobsmacked, weren't we? I asked Matthew Scott, the Police and Crime Commissioner, to look at the body cam evidence because it looked, really awful. So I'll go straight to the fact that it got escalated to a national level. And we have the statement from Security Minister Dan Jarvis about this very incident. He said, "Freedom to protest lawfully is a cornerstone of our democracy. Palestine's action prescription does not and must not interfere with the people's legitimate right to express support for Palestinians." And certainly as someone who is a protester herself, I did look more carefully at this. And as I've mentioned before, we work very closely with the police, and we had a statement very quickly from the Chief Inspector, Paul Stoner, who said that it was firearms officers who attended. Normally, community policing would have a softer approach, and the inspector for the firearms is liaising with the officers to make sure that they totally understand the difference between protest and proscribed bodies. We are concerned about this, and there is confidence in the police team that they are trained, and I know that Chief Inspector Paul Stoner Matthew Scott, and in fact, I know that Security Minister Dan Jarvis has asked all the police crime commissioners and the chief of police to look carefully to make sure that the police do understand the difference between legitimate protest and prescribed organisations. Having said that, apparently there were a number of 999 calls for people who were concerned about the person's safety because of where she was standing. But I was as shocked at seeing the video as everybody else.
Sorry, excuse me. Councillor Harvey, do you have any supplementary question?
Just a comment, basically. I appreciate that, Councillor Nolan, appreciate that. It's somewhat reassuring, but the suggestion that the prescription of Palestine action is not restricting peaceful protest is I think, misleading, because I understand since that prescription there's been around 100 arrests of old age pensioners, basically, and I just find it shocking. But thank you for the response.
Councillor Nolan, do you want to come back?
I can only really comment on what happens in Canterbury, and Chief Inspector Paul Stoner, as I've said, is reviewing all the training and development of his officers, and as I said, Security Minister Dan Jarvis has instructed the Police and Crime Commissioners and the Chiefs of Police across the UK to review officers' training.
Sorry, excuse me. We're going to join the meeting. Sorry about that. We had to adjourn the meeting because we had for 2 minutes due to this. Due to a disruption from a member of the public. So we're going to commence with the meeting now. Thank you very much. Can I invite Councillor Stuart Heaver to put his first question?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Thank you, Lord Mayor. On Sunday, the 6th of July, residents in the Whitstable area became victims of our inadequate local water infrastructure when hundreds of residents faced their 6th consecutive day without water supply due to lack of water, while at the same time, on the same day, raw sewage was being pumped into the sea due to excessive water. The important issues of accountability and engagement with South East Water will be debated later. But a separate question being asked by many residents in my ward is, does this council have any confidence that our dysfunctional water infrastructure can support more large-scale housing development in the area when all the evidence suggests that it can't cope now?
Could I invite Councillor Chris Cornell to make his response?
Thank you for your question, Stuart. This council has long stood together in condemning the failure of our water infrastructure, both when it sees sewage in our seas and areas becoming a drinking water desert. Back in November 2021, the council condemned repeated discharges of untreated sewage as deplorable and called on Southern Water to respond to planning applications fully and frankly, so that the planning committee could balance both its duty to provide homes for people in need and to protect our environment. Water has been managed successfully since the Romans, and we don't believe it is impossible to ensure that the taps run and we are able to deliver affordable housing. The council relies on Kent County Council as the strategic flood authority and water companies to provide expert technical feedback on whether they can do their job and provide the infrastructure we need. We're not water engineers. Just last month, we published an open letter following the problems in Sea Salter saying that South East Water needed to get their house in order. This was the third letter that we'd sent the company in the last 6 months, following problems in Barton, Reculver and Herne also. Residents, much like councillors, need assurance that we have the water infrastructure that we need to help those people stuck on our council waiting list. They don't need me to give you a soundbite acknowledging that there's a problem. They don't need us to get pompously angry. They don't need us to jockey with one another on which political party is angrier than others. They elect us to propose solutions and to get on delivering them. Personally, I was disappointed that the last Reg 18 local plan didn't include enough detail on how, if water companies fail to engage in planning applications and provide the expert advice that we need, we can force them to do so by changing procedures for the assessment and the verification of their plans. Cabinet believes that this was an oversight of us all. However, in order to be able to add extra safeguards to the planning system, we need to publicly consult. And as such, I can reveal that the new Reg 18 proposed for September will include a question on how the council can ensure that we have the information and the assurances that we need to make decisions fairly. We hope that this will give us the evidence base we need to introduce changes in the local plan in its final Reg 19 phase. And in the meantime, officers have been working with the Cabinet to look at proven solutions from a wide range of local authorities, including West Berkshire, New Forest, Hull, Arran, Hinckley, Warrington and Wealden. Both South East Water and Southern Water are quick to reward their top executives and shareholders, but incredibly slow to invest in the infrastructure that we so desperately need. They don't see the impact of their actions on the most vulnerable, but that we hope, but we hope that will be the subject of the debate for later tonight.
Thank you, Councillor Heaver. Do you have a supplementary question?
I do, please, Lord Mayor, and thank you to Councillor Cornell for that long and detailed answer. And I look forward to seeing more detail in Reg 18 of the local plan, but even the immediate future in terms of proposing solutions, would he not agree that there's immediate action this council could take rather than just condemning or getting pompous or angry? Hopefully none of us will do that. and impose a blanket planning condition so that any future development permitted shall not commence until water companies have provided detailed evidence to the council that adequate infrastructure is in place for surface water drainage, foul water drainage and water supply. These types of conditions are being used in other local planning authorities across Kent, including Wealdon Borough Council, who introduced them in 2024, and they were upheld on appeal in January this year. Isn't this the least we can do for our local residents who are already suffering due to the fragility of our water infrastructure?
Sorry. Okay.
The supplementary question was, can we impose, please, a blanket planning? Perhaps
Don't worry,
Brady
Stuart, it's fine.
didn't seem to get the question. I thought I might want to repeat it. No, it's not at all. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
No, that's fine. The Grampian conditions, which eventually Councillor Eva is referring to, are one solution to solve an issue. However, we also need to appreciate that the council needs to deliver on its 5-year housing supply, and failure to do so sees us put in presumption and effectively given a free pass to all developers to do whatever they want, wherever they want, and we can't stop them. There are some very good things in the local plan about improving water efficiency. We need to find a rule which will suit us all going forward, and importantly, is not open to legal challenge, as I know some Grampian conditions have been previously. We don't believe that water is something that water infrastructure isn't a problem that can't be fixed by engineers. We hope to work with engineers to ensure that they provide us the information we need to ensure that the housing which these people in the district deserve.
Thank you. Can I invite Councillor Grace Paget to put their first question?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. My question is, please could we have an update on the administration's bus first policy with reference to what the council will do to enable more reliable and frequent bus services across the district? For example, the 602 route, which runs through Herne and Broomfield and which recently had its service reduced. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I invite Councillor Mike Searle to give a response?
Thank you for that question. As Councillor Ricketts isn't here, you have to put up with my answer tonight, and I'm sure he'll be just as surprised to hear it as you will. The Bus First policy, which focuses on delivering the infrastructure and conditions necessary to support and encourage increased bus use, forms part of the emerging local plan, currently in draft form and not yet formally adopted. This draft strategy outlines minimum standards for bus provision to ensure that all parts of the district are accessible by public transport and that bus travel is a viable and reliable alternative to private car use. This represents a significant shift from the previous car-centric approach of the now discarded Conservative draft local plan. Our objective is to increase the number of buses on the road, thereby expanding travel options for residents, commuters and visitors alike, ensuring that the wheels on the bus go round and round all day long. Currently, the majority of local bus services operate on a commercial basis without financial support from Kent County Council. Under the previous Conservative administration at Kent County Council, funding for subsidised routes was substantially reduced, and regrettably, there's been no indication to date that the new reform-led administration at KCC intends to reverse that position. Our draft bus strategy recognises that in some cases, financial support may be necessary in the short term to enable more frequent services or longer operating hours. As usage increases, the goal is for these services to become commercially viable. Potential sources of funding for such subsidies include developer contributions, local authorities or central government. In the future, a Kent mayor with powers over public transport, including bus operations, may offer further opportunities to improve the service provision. In the meantime, it is our responsibility to do what we can through the local plan to deliver the Bus First vision for our district. And we hope for cross-party support for a local plan that lays the foundations for this transformation, increasing bus services across the whole district. With regard to the specific concerns about Route 602 through Herne and Broomfield, these matters fall within the remit of the bus operator and Kent County Council, so you'll need to ask them.
Thank you. Councillor Paget, do you have any supplementary question?
No, thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you. There are 3 notices of motion to this meeting. The first one is South East Water Accountability and Public Engagement. This motion can be debated this evening, so I'd like to invite Councillor Naomi Smith to propose the notice of motion as set out in the agenda.
Thank you, Lord Mayor, and thank you, councillors. Most of you will have read the motion, so I'm not going to read the whole motion out. And as you know, Sea Salter was very badly affected, but so have many other wards over many periods of time. I believe that Barton Ward had outages in the January as well. It's the 4 things that I want this council to resolve to is request that Canterbury City Council urgently requests David Hinton, CEO of South East Water, organises a public meeting on the issue of whether they can provide water or not, to be attended by councillors and members of the public. Ensure that this meeting is held in an accessible public venue with open questioning from councillors and an opportunity for public engagement. We request that South East Water commit to improved communications protocols during emergencies, ongoing and meaningful engagement with local councillors who are vital channels of local information and support, collaborative planning on the location of emergency water stations, and a clear and time-bound plan to invest in and upgrade infrastructure to meet current and our future demands. And then finally, we want to invite SO to attend a formal scrutiny committee meeting within 12 months to report on progress against the commitments made at the public meeting and in the letter of the 10th of July. So I'll open it for debate.
Thank you very much. I'd like to invite Councillor Carnac to second the motion. Would you like to speak now?
I'll reserve my right to speak, but seconded, Lord Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd now like to invite the council to debate this matter, after which a recorded vote will be taken on the resolution. Councillor Prentice.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I fully support this motion, and I want to pay tribute to my colleagues who have had to deal with the aftermath and the ongoing situation with regards to the water outages, not just on the coast, but elsewhere in the district. On several occasions, we've had water supply problems in my ward, Barton, as my colleague, Councillor Nolan, only too well knows. It's not something that's been confined just to the coast. I mean, communication has been poor from South East Water, and has only improved when ward councillors, such as myself, have made efforts to contact South East Water. The proactivity just hasn't existed. Water stations, when there have been outages, have been set up for Barton Ward, in some cases in Blean. No disrespect to my colleagues in Blean, but that's not very helpful for people living on the Spring Lane estate or the Howard Green area, especially when you don't have your own car. Fortunately, I don't think we've experienced anywhere near as bad a situation as some of my colleagues have in the Whitstable area, most notably a few weeks ago, but it could only be a matter of time. We've got infrastructure in our area that just isn't fit for purpose, but I would like to hear from South East Water. I'd like to hear exactly what is being done to address the situation, not just to a select group of people, but to everyone who has an interest in this issue, and there are many, many of them. I endorse everything in this motion. I look forward to the council and our residents who are rightfully furious, holding South East Water to account. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Flanagan.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I shall also be supporting this motion, as I feel a public meeting with South East Water is now critical. Why do I say that? Well, let's take a step back and look at what has been happening over the last few weeks. In summary, thousands of households and businesses left without water for up to a week. Different reasons provided by South East Water for the lack of supply, and tens, if not hundreds of leaks need an urgent repair across the local network. And all at the same time that many of us are seeing our water bills going up. All of this together, I think, leads to one key question. Where is the confidence that this disruption won't happen again? Whether that's next week, next month, or next year. Now, in their reply to us, South East Water said that they had planned for the recent hot weather, but that, and I quote, daily demand for water across our network was far higher than expected. Now, that's quite a concerning statement when we consider the future impact of climate change and the fact that this council and other councils are under pressure to build more houses across our districts. If South East Water can't meet the current level of demand, what does that mean about future supply? So that's why we need South East Water to organise a public meeting so that the public and councillors can question plans for current and future supply. It's why we need South East Water to commit to improve communication and engagement to rebuild the confidence and trust that has been lost across our local communities. So I will certainly support this motion. I have just one small request I would like to make. I don't think it needs an amendment, but to bear in mind when writing to the CEO that any meeting should be held in an appropriate time of day, possibly early evening, to maximise public engagement. One final thing, if South East Water are watching, as I hope they are, on the community page on their website it says, if you'd like one of our experts to come and talk to your group or community, please get in touch. Well, if this motion is passed, then I'm quite sure this council will be in touch, and we certainly expect you to honour that commitment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Mackenzie.
Okay, thank you, Lord Mayor. And thank you, Councillor Smith and Councillor Carnac, for bringing this motion tonight. I put a call out recently for residents in all 4 parishes of Surrey Ward to share their views and experiences on this matter, and there was one that particularly stuck out to me. So a resident in Surrey said that they have been served with a £10 per month increase in their water bills following the 20% increase in the drinking water prices that we're all experiencing. And they said, and I quote, that this is pushing their family into poverty. This is at the same time that they told me that they have experienced both water outages and low water pressure in their home. The same services that they are not receiving, paying for them is pushing them into hardship. I think this is unacceptable, and I want South East Water to come before us to answer for that. Especially when many of my residents have been told that their bills increase was to invest in infrastructure. It is not due to increased usage. But many of my residents have also reported low water pressure and water leaks that often last for weeks. So I want to know more about the progress they are making with infrastructure delivery, because all of our residents deserve to know how this money is being spent. For these reasons, I fully welcome any opportunity to scrutinise South East Water's performance and pressure them to deliver on the required infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Nolan.
I also support this motion. There is a pattern of behaviour here with South East Water. The first thing seems to be that they drastically underestimate the number of households. The second is they don't communicate properly. And I would like to pay tribute here to Leo Whitaker, because he is so good as the emergency officer. And I do apologise publicly to him to phoning him up on a Sunday morning saying, I've got people here who've got no water, and the water board are denying that that's the case. In January, when it happened first in Barton Ward, it also affected the heating of people because of the combi boilers that they had, and also, you know, discussions with Leo about, do we open up? St Paul's Parish Hall very kindly offered straight away to open up as a warm place for people. We decided not to do that. I had a phone call from Mrs. Emma Campbell, who is the head teacher of Pilgrim's Way, on another evening, to say that a young mother who had no access to social media, didn't know what was going on, had contacted her because she had no water at all for the children. And so I organised a pickup from a very inconvenient place. My fellow councillor is quite right that what happens is the water board puts the water depot where it suits them rather than thinking through where people can get to. So there's there's a catalogue of repeated behaviour. And yes, I'm totally for this motion, but the first thing they should do is improve their customer interface. It shouldn't be down to council officers to do things on a Sunday that they should be doing themselves. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Sol.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. This is one of those issues where, although we have no direct power to resolve the issue, our residents expect us as a council to stand up for them and to be the voice that they're not. So I fully support this motion. We expect that when we turn on the tap, the water will come out of it. And I think that's a perfectly reasonable thing to expect in this day and age. Things can go wrong, but when they do go wrong, though, we need to know that the water companies have got the correct emergency plans in place. And I think what we've seen this year is that they don't have the emergency plans in place. They cannot get bottled water to people who need it and get it to them easily. And bottled water, I would think, is only really a 24-hour solution. Once you've gone beyond 24 hours, it's just simply not good enough. The impact on the elderly, the disabled, or those with young families. It's not just about having a drink. It's about being able to keep yourself clean and wash, and there are health and hygiene issues with that. What we've seen here is that South East Water took too long to fix it and did too little to help those in need. So I look forward to being able to grill them on this, if you can grill water.
Thank you very much. Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. And yes, I fully support this motion. And people in our ward were one of it, really severely impacted as well. And the water distribution centre, I mean, they didn't even consider using Herne car park, which was easy for residents. They just used Sainsbury's, where there was a 3-mile queue. You couldn't get in it. But I think it's for Southern Water, or South East Water, should I say, it's born out of lack of investment for so many years. I mean, there's no resilience in the system, and I'm under the belief that we didn't run out of water. We just couldn't get the water through the system to the taps. So we're in a situation where there's a company with little or no resilience in that, and it leads me on to planning for us. And we're in a bit of a rock and a hard place at the moment. We're in presumption, so we have to be asked to consider planning applications. And on the back of that, and what would be helpful, I believe, for our council, not to not build houses. We need to build houses in the right places. But maybe we need to consider asking the powers that be that they need to just take the foot off a little bit and remove that presumption to help us be a little bit more resilient ourselves while we work and hopefully work and get the guy in front of us to see what they can do. Because when we have a planning application, we have reports of how the sewerage goes out. We're not getting any information that we can actually cope with the water coming in. And they are the basic sustainabilities of all applications what we consider. So I'm not asking for an amendment. I'm just asking for people just to consider that. Maybe it's something we could look at as a council, maybe moving forward, that we could ask the powers that be to say, give us a break. We can't cope at the moment. That would help in some degree. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Baldock.
Yeah, thank you for. You raised a good point, actually. I'll correct you. The answer is to that, as my understanding is, water companies actually have the obligation to supply water. It's not a choice. So I think all the while we do let the gas off at all, we're letting them get away with it. And that's frankly wrong. They've had years to invest, they've not invested, and now we're giving them even more time to invest. We say, no, don't build any houses, that's all right. We just won't build any houses because we've got no water, and then they don't have to build any put any water because they can manage what they've got already. But we're doing our bit, I think, as a council too, and it makes it a bit one-sided because we've already, for years, we've incorporated all councils, haven't they, the opportunity for them to build their reservoir. We've dodged around that. We've bent over backwards to make sure it works. The Nemo link, no, not Nemo link, it was the other link, wasn't it? The tower line link was built around the reservoir potentially, and all those sort of things. There's no excuse for not building a reservoir, but there's going to be 2030 at the very earliest before they start. Those sort of things, I think, is where we as a council have some leverage, because we do actually have an interest in our local plan, the delivery of our properties and housing, and they become a block to it. So I think that's the answer. It's not the answer that, you know, our colleagues on the back row think, it's just not to do anything and it'll all go away. It won't go away. It has to be fixed. So that I think is really important. I just wanted to raise the point that we are doing what we can to make sure that the opportunity is there. They just need to take it. So when I go in the room with them, with all of you, we can say that, come on, we're not stopping you, get on with it. So that's what I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Eva.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I'll be supporting the motion, and also just want to acknowledge the hard work Councillor Naomi Smith put in during that really difficult weekend where there are a lot of people in really vulnerable situations. I just want to say there's two separate things here. There's their abject response to the emergency, which I think this motion really gets stuck into. But the second issue is, as Councillor Flanagan says, how can we have confidence it won't happen again? And without upsetting Councillor Brady and repeating my question from earlier this evening, I don't think anybody has got any confidence that it's not going to happen again. And I don't think it's sufficient for us to just bring them to account and have a bit of a public show and an opportunity for public to vent their frustration. We need to be more proactive, and we need to be more proactive in the planning and the local plan to get them in and get them involved in the discussion about how we can have the correct infrastructure to support the housing that we're obliged to build. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you. Councillor Cornell.
Yeah, I'm fully in support of the motion. What's fascinating is that when the taps don't switch on, someone messages their local councillor, regardless of whether we can help or not. And I'm sure that many of us in the room have been in that situation. In that weekend, I had a 70-year-old gentleman who had a 103-year-old mother who had a skin condition which required that she needed to bathe twice a day. I had a mother who had a severely disabled and respirated son who was very concerned about the house being sterile, who was collecting water from a paddling pool outside in the garden in order to flush the toilet. I had a young couple who at one point were thinking about digging a hole in the garden in order to shit in it. But during that period of time, what became obvious was the real lack of planning in how to deal with an emergency. We know our local communities. We know where people can pick up water. We know where people struggle to travel to. If we were in charge of it, we would be knocking on doors, not sitting around on our hands in car parks. If they really thought that it was 500 odd people, you can knock up 500 doors in an afternoon. We've all done it with a small group of people. This is a multi-million-pound organisation who can't do basic emergency planning, who can't even open a hall and say, we're here if you need to talk to us. And that is the frustrating thing. It's not happened just in Whitstable, it's happened in Herne Bay, it's happened in Canterbury, and it's happened consistently over the last year, and they need to do better. I don't mind that when people put the tap on that they message me. I just want to help my local residents by being involved in the situation and the solution to them. I want to feel we're all part of the same team and that we can give people the answers that they deserve, rather than what we did, which was refer them to a bloody call centre when no one picked up the phone. This is not complicated. This is basic emergency planning. And as a result, I support this motion and its attempt to tell the stories of people who the CEO of Southern Water wouldn't have heard, but yet we hear every time that something like this happens.
Thank you very much for that. Councillor Harvey.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I'll try and see if I can outdo Councillor Cornell on the disgusting stories, because my daughter was out of water for 6 days with a 1-year-old baby and a 5-year-old who she ended up asking to poo or shit, as we're going to have to say that one now, in a doggy poo bag, so she didn't put any more waste in the toilet. But I think we all know, I support the motion, by the way, but I think we all know we can't depend on South East Water or Southern Water or any of these privatised companies to do what they're supposed to do. But we could be doing a lot more ourselves, and particularly with planning. If we had grey water storage, and if we'd had it for the last 10 years, that would alleviate a lot of the demand, and it would also mean when your fresh water did go off, you don't need fresh water to flush the toilet. You'd have tank water to be doing that. And I just think it's something we're missing out on and should be on all these new developments because we can't rely on South East Water.
Thank you very much. I'll invite Councillor Carnac, if you wanted to say something now.
Yeah, thank you, Lord Mayor. Well, I'd like to thank everyone for their contributions this evening. I think many of us experienced very difficult times over the past year. And I think what's interesting, it's very similar to Southern Water. And I think this is where we actually can make a difference. It's incremental. So I've had a few things in my ward over the past few months where water's gone off or low pressure or whatever, and I've tried to help people with that. But I've sort of thought nothing much more of it until you get the big whammy, which we got in Beltinge, Herne and Broomfield, and then obviously in Ceasewater and Whitstable, that really showed us all that there was something big happening. But this has been going on for a very long time now. And it's a bit like we had with Southern Water. And Councillor Cornell mentioned that earlier, the motion that was brought in 2021, and we brought Southern Water and we held them to account. And out of that, we also, our MPs did as well. And we did get some things out of that. We have got Cornwallis Circle, the changes there. We did get some change. We've got big investment at Swale Cliff was brought forward and prioritised, and we've got more to come in Herne Bay. Unfortunately, Herne Bay seems to have slowed down, and while some people haven't got water, poor people in Mortimer Street and surroundings were actually flooded again in recent days. So there's water in some places and water in not in others. And I agree with the leader. One of the things we've got to do is, when it comes to water, is embrace YIMBYism. We've got to go full out now and get this Broad Oak Reservoir delivered. And some of us are members of the stakeholder group there. We know that there is big resistance to that reservoir being built. We've got to persuade people that where they live in some areas of this district, they cannot hold back on investment, which is affecting the coastal towns and the built-up areas of Canterbury, just because they don't want to see a stream turn into a slightly bigger stream. So we've got to really work hard on this in the planning areas. I think we need to push that South East Water also is the statutory consultee, as Southern Water is. We need to work on saving water, slowing the flow, which we've all been doing with Southern Water, and making sure that South East Water is fixing the leaks and storing the water. So I absolutely support Councillor Smith in this motion. I'm very happy that we look at scrutiny at this, and I'd actually like to include Southern Water in that as well, so we bring the full chain together, particularly as will be in section 18 or coming through that probably after that period, so this will fit in. But we have to really make sure that some of these infrastructure projects now aren't slowed down, they're not delayed, they don't go into the 2030s, that we really focus on delivering the resources that people need. And we've mentioned young families. What we haven't mentioned is business and agriculture. They really suffered. Anyone with livestock was absolutely desperate over the past few weeks, and also businesses that had to close. A couple of years ago, businesses had to close across the coast because of the sewage leaks. This time, they've had to close because they had no water. These are small hospitality businesses in the summer season that our coastal towns depend on. So yes, we've got to hold these people to account on behalf of our residents. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you very much. I'd like to invite Councillor Smith to sum up before the vote.
Thank you, Lord Mayor, and thank you everybody for their contributions. I sort of very much echo what everybody has said. Yes, Sea Salter was particularly badly hit, Sea Salter and Yorklets. There was several claims going around that it was 500 homes, and it wasn't. It was not 500 homes. We counted 1,300 homes just off the electoral roll, and that didn't include all the holiday caravans as well, who were occupied as. So water, you know, and the other thing I want to say is that the residents helped each other out. They were incredible, but people had to rely on family and friends who had water to bathe, to get a shower, to get the hair washed. I mean, I was up in Dargate and I saw people coming out of the cars with their towels and stuff. So they'd obviously been to places to get washed because they still hadn't got water. And like Councillor Carnac says, that, you know, people with livestock who were really concerned. One of my residents whose pig had had piglets and they needed lots of water. She was getting really quite, you know, scared. And people were scared. People were scared. And we should be putting our residents through this sort of thing. So you know, what I really want us to do is vote for this. I don't think anybody's going to vote against this motion tonight. I think we're all standing up for the residents in the district. And thank everybody for supporting the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Andrea, can we go to the voice? Thank you.
So that is carried unanimously, Chair.
Thank you very much. And we'll go to the next motion, which is reconnecting our ancient woodland. I'd like to invite Councillor Keith Bothwell to propose and Councillor Rachel Carnac to second the notice of motion set out in the agenda.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. This council notes that a local group, Forest of Kent, have a proposal to reconnect the ancient woodland from Kingswood and Perrywood northeastward to the Blean Woodland Nature Reserve and East Blean at Hoath, to connect essential wildlife habitats and recreate a landscape-scale forest in East Kent. This exciting project includes a green land bridge across the A2, which has been allocated #1 priority by National Highways and has funding, and other stepping stones in connecting habitats and developing marginal habitats to support the biodiversity of the forest. A key objective of this project is to expand the Kent Downs National Landscape, previously AONB, into the wider Blean area to create a substantial forest that can support threatened species. The project is supported by Sir John Lawton, RSPB, Kent Bat Group, Kent Wildlife Trust, the Woodland Trust, Wildwood Trust, local landowners and others. The objectives of the project, aiming at reversing the catastrophic decline in biodiversity, align fully with the Council's declared biodiversity emergency on the 19th of October 2023, as well as numerous specific Council policies as follows. Firstly, the Canterbury City Council Biodiversity Plan and Nature Recovery Strategy. Second bullet point, Policy SS1 Environmental Strategy Policy in the Draft Local Plan to 2040. And I quote, the network of green and blue infrastructure, including rivers, streams and ponds, in the district, which provides important habitats, valued landscapes and spaces for recreation, and which supports our health and well-being, will be protected, maintained and enhanced in line with Policy DS19. Developments should provide multi-benefit connections or corridors between habitats, considering ecological connectivity and pollinators, as well as accessibility and usability by people. Third bullet point, Policy DS23 in the Draft Local Plan, the Blean Woodland Complex. The Council will support projects that restore, enhance, expand and connect the valued woodland habitat of the Blean Woodland Complex as defined on the policies map, and will work with partners to help achieve these objectives, including rewilding, natural regeneration and wider landscape restoration where appropriate. Fourth bullet point, Canterbury District Green Infrastructure Strategy 2018 to 2031. Quoting, the strategy takes a multifunctional cross-boundary approach to green infrastructure planning and considers biodiversity, recreation and active travel, water resources, woodlands, landscape character and health and well-being in formulating priorities and actions. The green infrastructure strategy will protect and enhance biodiversity, enabling landscape-scale biodiversity gains which cross local authority boundaries, as well as delivering net gain through development. And the fifth bullet point, plus many other council policies and strategies. The reconnected ancient forest will
Sorry,
bring greater focus.
Can you round up, please?
Pardon?
Can you round up? Because you've got
Well,
a lot
I'd
of
like
time.
to finish if I can. I
Yes,
was advised that I need to read the motion in full by an officer.
Go ahead.
The reconnected ancient forest would bring greater focus and coordination to stewardship schemes, boosting ecotourism and the green economy, and bringing large economic benefits to local eco-charities, businesses and landowners. In the words of Sir John Lawton, it is the perfect opportunity for local authorities to deliver their bigger, better, connected ambitions in the South East. To summarise, this Canterbury City Council resolves to, firstly, continue to support, through its established policies and future actions, the reconnection of ancient woodland in the district and in the wider Blean area specifically. Secondly, encourage and support council officers and outside bodies in pursuing these objectives. Thirdly, ensure that the draft local plan to 2040 embodies the principles and policies that enable and encourage the reconnection of the wider Blean. And fourthly, request that the leader of the council write to National Landscapes, notifying them that Canterbury City Council is in full support of the adoption of the wider Blean as part of the North Downs National Landscape. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I invite?
Seconded, Lord Mayor.
Yeah. Thank you. This motion will be referred without debate to Cabinet, and I'll, however, invite the leader of the council to provide an initial response because no further debate is allowed. Thank you.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Bothwell, for bringing this motion to council. I spoke with my cabinet lead on this, Councillor Dawkins, and we agree there is much support for the ideas captured within this motion. Councillor Dawkins has been in conversation with local groups and is well versed in the ambitions of the overall project. The council continues to recognise the national and international importance of the ancient woodlands that comprise the Blean Woods, and we welcome the value of the work of the RSPB, Kent Wildlife Trust and Woodland Trust into positively manage the ancient woodlands and their future. As such, the council's draft Reg 18 local plan Blean Complex Policy DS23 supports the land-based initiatives that further the conservation of the Blean Woodland Complex to restoring, enhancing, expanding and connecting the woodlands. A range of comments on this draft policy were received on the 2024 consultation, and these will be assessed ahead of considering the scope for amendments for the Reg 19 version of the local plan, which we now expect to be in February 2026. However, as this relates to draft local plan, I will ask officers to consider the motion as it is as a part of the development of the Reg 19 consultation on the draft local plan, which Cabinet and this Council will consider in due course. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to the third motion for this meeting, which is the 20 miles per hour speed limits on all new housing developments. So I'd like to invite Councillor Andrew Harvey to propose and Councillor Robert Jones to second the motion as set out in the agenda.
Thank you very much, Lord Mayor. Despite my fan club no longer being with us, I'm a little disappointed that we don't have the chance to debate this motion this evening, because I've had unanimous support from, well, I won't say unanimous, but support from all sides of the political spectrum in this chamber, and unsolicited messages from several people in full support. So I hope it will go to Cabinet successfully and we can debate it then. But the proposal is that the Canterbury City Council resolves to support through the planning policies and future actions the establishment of default 20 mile per hour speed limits on all new residential streets in the district, that we encourage and support council officers and our colleagues at Kent County Council to work with developers and other bodies in pursuing these objectives, and to ensure that the draft local plan to 2040 embodies these principles. That's it. Thank you.
Yep, seconded, Lord Mayor.
This motion is referred without debate to Cabinet. I would, however, invite the leader to provide an initial response.
Councillor Nolan will do this response, Lord Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. It relates to the local plan, so the proper procedure is to refer it to the local plan. However, the reason that I'm answering this or making a comment on this is because 20 miles an hour is very difficult to enforce, and to have a blanket 20 miles an hour on all residential streets would, I think, not achieve the objective. However, we do have, as a council, a policy of active travel. We have a policy of encouraging bus first, and I think that is something that carries forward. The residential roads around schools at the moment, people do observe the 20 miles an hour while the school day begins and finishes, but that is very, very difficult to enforce. So I personally think that we cannot adopt something which we know from the outset is too difficult to enforce. We can encourage people, yes, but it's the enforcement of 20 miles an hour which is not in the national framework.
Yeah, thank you. I'd like to invite the leader to propose and the deputy leader to second approval of the minutes of the full council meeting of the 7th of May 2025.
Lord Mayor, I was so engrossed in the motions and the minutes, I'm well behind on my page turning. But anyway, sorry about that. Okay. Okay. Right, Lord Mayor, I'd like to propose for confirmation the council minutes Wednesday, the 7th of May 2025, pages 11 to 20. Thank you.
Seconded.
I should say confirmation and adoption, of course. Apologies for that.
Go to. Sorry about that. We'll go to a vote. Thank you. This one has to be voted on. The other ones will. Thank you.
And that is carried with 29 in favour and 1 abstention.
Thank you. I'd like to request that councillors note the changes to membership of committees and subcommittees as listed on page 9 of the agenda. There are no updates on previous motions for this meeting. The Joint Chief Executive would like to speak.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. It's everyone's favourite bit. The minutes will be dealt with in turn. The Lord Mayor will invite the relevant chair to propose the receipt and adoption of the minutes and then ask for a seconder for the proposal. Councillors are permitted to debate the minutes if they wish, but they cannot be amended. The only possible action, if there is disagreement on the accuracy of the minutes, is for them to be sent back to the relevant committee. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you very much. I would like to invite the chair of the Cabinet Committee to propose and also have a...
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I'd like to propose for confirmation, receipt and adoption the Cabinet minutes for Wednesday, the 23rd of April 2025, pages 21 to 27. Monday, the 16th of June 2025, pages 28 to 35. and Monday, the 7th of July, 2025, pages 36 to 43. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Seconded, Lord Mayor.
General assent? Thank you. I'd like to invite the chair of the licensing committee to propose and also have a seconder.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I move for receipt and adoption the minutes of the licensing committee meeting on Monday, the 19th of May, 2025, pages 44 to 45, and also on Monday, the 7th of July, 2025, pages 46 to 48, and also minutes of the licensing subcommittee meeting on Wednesday, the 23rd of April, 2025, pages 49 to 50, again on Thursday, 8th of May, 2025, pages 51 to 61, and again on Thursday, 8th of May, 2025, pages 62 to 67. Do I have a seconder?
Seconded, Lord Mayor.
Thank you very much. General assent. Thank you. Could I invite the chair of the overview committee to propose and also have a seconder, please?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I propose for receipt and adoption the minutes of the overview committee held on Thursday, the 22nd of May, 2025, pages 68 to 73. Do I have a seconder, please?
Seconded, Lord Mayor.
General assent. Thank you. Both the chair and vice chair of the planning committee has given apologies, so I'll ask Councillor Prentice to propose the planning committee minutes below and also have a seconder, please.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I propose for receipt and adoption the minutes of the planning committee held on Tuesday, the 29th of April, 2025, pages 74 to 77. Also on Tuesday, the 13th of May, 2025, pages 78 to 80. The meeting on the 29th of May was cancelled. Also on the Wednesday, the 18th of June, 2025, pages 81 to 83. And Tuesday, the 24th of June, 2025, pages 84 to 87. Do I see a seconder, please?
I'll second that, Lord Mayor.
Thank you. General assent. Thank you. Could I invite the chair of the scrutiny committee to propose and also have a seconder, please?
Yeah, thank you, Lord Mayor. I submit for receipt and adoption the minutes of the scrutiny committee on Wednesday, 4th June 2025, pages 88 to 95.
Seconded, Lord Mayor.
Thank you very much. General assent. Thank you. Could I invite the chair of the Whitstable Harbour Board to propose and also have a seconder for that, please?
I submit for receipt and adoption the minutes of Whitstable Harbour Board dated the 27th of June 2025 on pages 96 to 99 of the agenda. Can I get a seconder?
Thank you very much. General assent. Thank you. There are no urgent decisions to bring before this meeting. And thank you all for coming. This meeting is now closed.